All right, so let's cover deliverability maxing in 2024. I'm going to go over the exact cold email deliverability protocol that we've used to have a 98% plus email deliverability across 3,000, 4,000 email accounts. In this picture, you can see in this one smart lead, which is our main smart lead, we have over 3,000 email accounts, but we do have some other clients we manage that are outside of the smart lead that have more email accounts. So it's probably more like 4,000 email accounts. So, but yeah, we've been able to consistently have a 98 plus percent deliverability, even throughout all these challenges recently over the past few months. When it came to like these crackdowns from Outlook, Gmail, all this stuff. Of course, we got hit by it, and our deliverability tanked for a little bit, but we were able to recover and figure it out. So I've created a really extensive guide here to cover all of it. So let's dive into it. So this will be in two parts. I'm just going to cover the first part because there's so many different bullet points. It was too much for one page. So yeah, let's go to the first part. So obviously, we're going to want a diversified infrastructure, right? So you don't. I think we've all learned at this point. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. Whether that's doing that all in Gmail, having one Google Workspace with all your email accounts, or having one Outlook Workspace with all your email accounts, or going all in on private infrastructure. Which with each of these, there could be a period of time where that specific provider is having a lot of issues, and if that does happen, then you're basically screwed, right? If your Google Workspace gets clapped, then and all your email accounts are in that Google Workspace, then your volume's done for 2 weeks, right? You're not going to be able to send any emails. So that's why, let's say the Google Workspace gets taken down, at least you have Outlook or like some private infrastructure on the side to you know be able to continue volume, right? So what we do is for our clients, we typically set up like 20 Gmail accounts, 20 Outlook accounts, and then we use Superwave, which is the only private infrastructure I recommend. And with Superwave, we set up about 800 email accounts, or sorry, not 800, 100 email accounts that can send 800 emails per day, right? So that's the setup we have for that. We want to get new inboxes like every 3 to 6 months because if you ever do, you can basically do everything correct with cold email deliverability at this point. But around the 3 to 6 month mark is like typically when most of these email accounts are going to die or just kind of like burn eventually. Like deliverability is just going to really taper off with them. So typically every 3 to 6 months, we want to get some new email accounts on board, um, and to sort of expand this lifespan. What we're going to do as well is we're going to do like a month over month rotating inboxes. So essentially, how this will work is what you want to do is let's say you purchase like 200 email accounts. What you want to do is you want to obviously warm up all 200 of them for 2 weeks or whatever the recommended warm time is for your ESP, and then you want to have when you want to send cold emails from 100 of those, but then also have 100 of those on the back burner just warming up. So then every month you switch off the email accounts, the set of email accounts that were sending 100 emails, or the 100 email accounts that were sending cold emails. You want to turn those off for 1 month, and then turn on the ones that were just warming up in the back end, if that makes sense. And during that process, it's just gonna expand the lifespan for these email accounts. Of course, it costs more upfront, but you're just going to run into a lot less headache in the long term by doing that. So definitely recommend doing that. Of course, heavy spin tax. I'm sure you've probably seen this a million times. Spin tax it's a non-negotiable nowadays. You can't. There's no way you're going to ever get away with sending just the same emails over and over and over again. Right now at this moment, it's just not possible. I don't think it'll ever be possible anymore. So you want to make sure, in terms of heavy spin tax, that at least every 5 words within your email has one point of spin tax. Ideally, you have like every other word is spin taxed, or every word if possible, but that might just be like a bit overkill. It's not completely necessary. So yeah, make sure every single email is spin taxed, even the follow up, but especially the first initial contact email, because I mean, at least once you inbox, odds of landing in the spam after that is pretty much none. So yeah, so make sure you spin text every 5 words within your emails, and then so let's say you're doing Google or Outlook. You want to send if you want to be comfortable. Sending 20 cold emails per day is going to be like the good safe space. You can do like 20 to 25 cold emails per day, or sorry, 25 to 30 cold emails today per day if you wanted to, and then have 20 warm email sending on the back end. But if you want to keep it safe, you're going to play it safe. Then 20 cold emails per day and then 30 warm emails per day is ideal. You want to, of course, do your 2 weeks warm up period if you're running Gmail or Outlook accounts. With certain private infrastructures, it varies. Like for Superwave, you only need to warm up for 2 weeks or for 7 days. But I know most of you guys are using Gmail or Outlook, so 2 weeks is going to be the ideal protocol. And for that, when it comes to the warm up settings, what you want to do is you don't want to send more than 30 warm emails per day, and then we typically set the reply rate to 80% there. And so once that 2 week warm period is complete, you want to, of course, scale volume. You don't want to just send full volume off the bat. So let's say you want to scale to 20 cold emails per day. First week, you want to send like, let's say eight emails per inbox. The next week, you do like 15 emails per inbox. And then the week after that, you get to 20 emails per inbox. So that's kind of like a 2 week volume scaling period. That's very crucial. So you don't have just a crazy change of pattern within the ESP, right? Yeah, so when you're setting up the email accounts, what you want to do is, this is super important, is you want to make sure every inbox is a unique alias. So you're not like just saying, Jim at x.com, Jim at abc.com. Because the thing is, if you have all these email accounts in one workspace, like Google's going to look at your workspace and be like, okay, why does Jim have 100 email accounts in this one workspace? It doesn't make sense, right? So you always want to switch it up. Ideally, even having different names, different people for each of the email accounts is even better, because then it looks more like an actual team of people versus one person that's about a mass send cold email. Another thing you want to always make sure of, I don't think I added this to here, but is there's a lot of people, they like to they'll use this thing called like email perpetrator, which creates a bunch of different email variations. But the thing is, when people use that, you get a lot of really weird email variations. So you have like jim1.px at x.com. You want to make sure that your email account doesn't look spammy, especially the domain. You don't want to have like any dashes or any numbers within the domain. So you want to make your email accounts look as professional as possible. Because yeah, if someone receives an email from jim1.px at xabc123.com, they're gonna know it's a spam email, right? So making sure your email accounts actually look professional is very important. Next is going to be deliverability audits. So we want to audit our deliverability every 2 weeks. I mean, it's kind of just a no-brainer. We use, what is it, mailtester.com. We just use that, and yeah, just run a test every 2 weeks. See the how everything's performing, and you can kind of get like a pretty good scope of your email account's performance by just simply looking at campaign stats. Like if you see you've been running a campaign and you run the same exact campaign like a month later, but performance just significantly tapers off and you haven't changed anything, then you likely know there's some sort of deliverability issue happening on the back end, right? So yeah, you want to make sure you're just always monitoring your campaigns and then also running it through a tester. And for domains, we're using Gandhi.net at the moment. We were using Porkbun before, but since Outlook had that whole breakout, um, we stopped using Porkbun because apparently using Porkbun domains was giving issues with deliverability. I think it was because a lot of people were using Porkbun since they're like the cheapest domain provider. So we're using Gandhi.net now. We haven't had any issues; it's been good so far. So I can recommend it. It's a little bit more expensive than Porkbun. It's like $15 to $17 per domain. So be wary of that. And then of course we want to limit spam words in the email. So that's going to be things like free, guarantee, revenue. I've heard even using numbers can hurt deliverability. We still use numbers in our emails, and it's been fine, because it would be weird if you wrote out like you helped X company generate $1 million and like write that out. It's a little weird. So yeah, just any like spammy words that you would see in like a typical scam email, avoid those. If you use Smartly, they have a feature that detects spam words, so you can just use that. Or you can go to spam, I think it's like spamwordchecker.com or something like that. You can check out the spam words there. There's plenty of free services for auditing your email scripts on spam words. So yeah, of course you want to limit those. Yeah, dialing lead list targeting is going to be huge too, because I mean, if you're running a trash campaign that's targeting people that are completely out of your scope of the industry, a lot of them remarketing as spam, right? Because it's not relevant. So actually building good campaigns that are relevant is going to positively or negatively affect your deliverability, right? You want to make sure you're targeting the right people, or else they're going to start marketing as spam. So really making sure your lists are dialed is very crucial for deliverability overall. Next, which this isn't absolutely crucial, but it does help, is we use AI personalization in some of our email scripts. You don't have to do this, but this does help scale reply rate. Which, if your reply rate is scaling positively, that means deliverability is going to boost at the same time. So it's like, because the way cold email works, it's like a flywheel effect, both negatively and positively. So if you have a campaign that's doing really well, deliverability is going to only get better, and the campaign's going to perform better, and it's just going to be an upward spiral. Versus where if a campaign's performing really poorly, that's going to be a negative spiral, and then over time, delivery is going to get worse and worse and worse until it just is gone. So yeah, and then also the other thing with AI is that it creates uniquely new text every single time. So it's like another form of spin text within your email. So that's also really helpful, and that's obviously going to boost deliverability. Next is going to be auto match your email providers on. I saw a post recently showing that Outlook accounts to Gmail accounts were not inboxing. So making sure that if you have a diversified infrastructure, that you're turning on this auto match feature, right? Because if Outlook accounts are not inboxing into Gmail accounts, you want to make sure, but Gmail accounts are inboxing into Gmail accounts, then you want to make sure only your Gmail accounts are emailing other Gmail accounts, and then also Outlook is only messaging Outlook, right? So that is going to help deliverability a lot as well. Open tracking off. This is super basic. You don't need to track your open rates. It's pointless. Just seeing your reply rates is already a good, uh, you know, sort of metric for where your deliverability is at. You don't need to track your open rate. It's useless. I've heard people saying just turning on their open tracking um, for like one day led to all their emails landing in spam. And the moment they turned it off, they started inboxing. So turn it off. It's useless. You don't need to do it. I know everyone's like a lot of people that are new into cold email are overly obsessive with open rates, but don't worry about it. Like focus on reply rate and focus on positive reply rate, and then focus on the actual contact to lead conversion. Those are the only metrics you need to worry about. Next is going to be an opt out option. This doesn't have to be an actual unsubscribe link. You can basically what you can do is just basically add a message at the bottom, like a PS message, uh, saying hey, if you're not interested in receiving emails anymore, just reply no. That's good enough. Another thing that you can do is you can actually turn this into a positive to where if someone doesn't want to receive your emails anymore, you can offer a lead magnet. So let's say you can basically send a message like, hey, just for taking your time to read this email, even if you're not interested, like we'd love to send you like this document, or we'd love to send you like some free leads, something free, right? Just to show your appreciation, and then also that's a potential for someone who wasn't interested to become a conversion, right? So that's something that's a smart thing I've seen people doing. Next thing is, of course, gonna be plain text, no HTML, obviously no pictures, no links, none of that stuff. It's very, very, very basic. I think everyone knows at this point. But if you're not doing that, then you are sabotaging deliverability. Next is going to be only sending to double verified emails. So just making sure you're running through Million Verifier, verifying the catch-alls, things like that. I mean, that's super basic. I think everyone should know at this point too. We set up an automation for our campaigns to where, yeah. So let's say if our bounce rate is above 2%, our campaigns will automatically pause, so we're not damaging those email accounts anymore. So what we'll do is the campaign will pause. We'll receive a notification to re-verify the list, and then if we see the list is fine, and that's an email account issue, then that's when we'll like go and replace the email accounts, and yeah, just scrap that campaign, right? Because you don't want to continue to send emails to a campaign that has over a 2% bounce rate, and it's just like going haywire in the bounces, because that's just going to hurt deliverability even more on the long run, right? And then finally, of course, you only want to set up when you're setting up email accounts, you only want to purchase .com, just .com secondary domains. Um, these just always have the best reputation. You never want to have like .in. That's probably like the worst. Like .us, .co. I mean, you can have those, and they can perform fine, but like just go with .com. You don't need to, yeah, like just invest the money. I know that sometimes they can be a little bit more expensive, but just invest in the high quality domains, and you're gonna have better deliverability with that. So yeah, but yeah, so that's pretty much everything. Yeah, everything has to be dialed if you want to maximize your deliverability, or else you're gonna suffer, right? I mean, like even if you mess up on like the spam words, if you're not turning on open tracking, it's just like every one of these things that you don't do is just gonna hurt your deliverability pretty significantly now because deliverability has become so difficult. So yeah, you really need to dial in everything. Deliverability is a skill now. It's not just like something you have to do. I mean, of course, it's something you have to do, but it's like there's actual skill behind it now. Because you need to actually be able to identify like what's the issue, go and fix it, all these things, right? But yeah, delivery is only going to become more harder as time goes on. So yeah, ensuring you're doing absolutely you can within your power to sustain 98% plus deliverability. It's going to be absolutely necessary. That should be like the benchmark is 98%. But yeah, I hope this helps. You should sign up to my newsletter. It's in the bio. And yeah, cheers.